Okay, Fedora has always been a bit of a testing ground. Rightly or wrongly, it is often viewed as a beta snapshot for upcoming releases of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and even if we dismiss that viewpoint, it is certainly a proving ground for various third-party projects like GNOME, KDE, systemd, and various developer tools. This means each release of Fedora tends to feel like a beta test rather than a stable release, and Fedora 40 very much fits this description. Some of this choppy behavior and lack of polish was due to the young Plasma 6 desktop environment. While the KDE team have done a decent job at putting out a new release that is an evolutionary step rather forward than a dramatic fall down the stairs, there are some issues. There are a few rough edges, some instability, and some nagging problems, particularly with the desktop panel and the system settings panel. The overall experience isn't bad, but with new desktop releases there are always a few surprises. In my case, most of this happened in the virtual machine rather than on my workstation. Other elements of this unpolished experience were more central to Fedora: the huge amounts of memory consumption, making Fedora the heaviest Linux distribution I have used by nearly 50% was a shock. The system installer is still awkward in places and has a weird layout, especially when it comes to disk partitioning. It feels odd to see Fedora continue to struggle with this when projects like Ubiquiti, Calamares, and Pop! OS have solved these problems years ago. Likewise, Fedora is one of the only distributions, apart from immutable projects, which insist on rebooting to a special update process for every later update. This feels like such a waste of time and a weird regression after spending the past 25 years in the Linux ecosystem, where updating has generally been quick and transparent in the background, requiring no pass and no reboot. There were other issues which were less of a serious concern but odd, mostly things that were missing from Fedora that are available in other distributions. For example, not being able to adjust Plasma's screen resolution in VirtualBox. This worked with Plasma 6 running on Chaos in VirtualBox, but not when running either of these desktops on Fedora. Also, of the subject of things missing or half there, something else I find odd is Fedora's insistence of using flatpak bundles and enabling a repository by default, but not a FlatHub repository. We get some flatpak bundles but are cut off from others. I suppose this comes down to a licensing issue, but it can't be a terrible concern because we can enable both FlatHub and RPM Fusion's non-free repositories with a single clicks in Discover. So it's not as though the Fedora project objects to providing us with access to these sources. No longer having Delta RPM packages to speed up updates was a disappointment. I feel there are some positives in Fedora 42. Hardware support was good, performance was decent, while Plasma 6 does seem to have some stability issues. The underlying operating system was rock solid. Fedora may be a testing ground for unfinished software, but is providing a solid foundation of its core. My main disappointment this time around was the Fedora. While the project has made the jump to using BTRFS as the default file system, it still hasn't done anything with BTRFS and its advanced features. OpenSUSE, FreeBSD, and Linux Mint have file system snapshot integrated with their update processes. They have graphical tools for browsing snapshots, and they can revert, change, or switch boot environments on the fly. Fedora has yet to make any strides in this area, and it feels like a waste. They've introduced the complexity of an advanced file system while skipping most of the benefits. I believe my last observation sums up the current state of Fedora. It feels like a collection of separate packages, with developers all trying out the latest technologies, but without coordination. We do get access to the latest upstream software. We can test our compilers, Python, containers, and the latest desktop environments as our hearts may desire. We can test run BTRFS, Plasma 6, Systemd, and the latest stable kernel releases. There is a cutting-edge testing arena, a playground of nearly unparalleled goodies for cutting-edge enthusiasts to enjoy. If test driving new technologies or developing new technologies is your thing, then Fedora has you covered. However, outside of being a beta testing ground, Fedora tends to feel like it is missing things in terms of user friendliness, in terms of consistency, in terms of half-finished solutions, and resource usage.